All right, finna go ahead and get this started. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. For today's episode 171, we're going to be discussing. We're going to be talking about a topic that's definitely very, very common within my channel, but nonetheless one that is of the utmost importance, which is going to be your potential must transcend yourself. And of course, we've talked about potential time and time again on this podcast, but I want to try to I want to try to I want to try to get it from a different angle, right? And a few things I want to say before I go to get it started. Make sure to go ahead and follow me on TikTok, Rumble, and Twitch. All at Life of a Champ podcast on everything, as well as make sure to go ahead and leave a like on my YouTube Shorts as well as my YouTube clips. If you do want to see a specific podcast where I make clips for, or maybe there was a favorite one that you've had in the past that you think would be really, really good for clips, let me know which one you would like to see for sure. But other than that, like I said, today's topic, like I said, your potential must transcend yourself. And like I said, there's a lot of different things that you can kind of take from that title alone, right? But essentially saying that you watching this right now, you have potential. That's something that I need to make very, very clear because, quite frankly, I feel like there's not enough people who truly believe that. And if they, even if they do believe that, they don't act as if they believe that. If that makes any sense. So you watching this right now, no matter how old you are, you have potential. You have potential to affect not only your life and your future, but the ones the ones of your influence, right? The ones that are going to be around you and obviously of your influence, right? And I feel like this entire aspect of your potential is something that isn't exactly mentioned at all, right? And I'm going to give you one quick example. There's certain things that I'm learning right now, right? That I might not even apply to that might not even apply to my life at all, but they might apply to my potential and my potential transcending within the process of influencing and educating the ones around me, right? And empowering them to do the things that they need to go ahead and do and to take action within their life, right? But there's certain things, like I said, life's very, very interesting with your potential because, like I said, your potential in itself, your view of your potential should be a very, very broad thing outside of, the best that you could do, right? Obviously, that is your potential, but like I had mentioned on today's episode, it's slightly different because your potential can, should, and will transcend past yourself, right? And like I said, not only can your potential be fulfilled, right? You can fulfill your own potential by working on yourself, right? But like I had mentioned before, you can by working on yourself, you can work on other people. You can help people work on themselves by you working on yourself. Like I had mentioned, right? There's probably been many instances where I've learned something, whether it's a piece of advice that I will eventually give to somebody, or maybe it's a problem that I internalize within myself, or maybe it doesn't even exactly apply to me, but therefore I still found the solution somehow, some way, right? I recognize that even though that might not be as the most utility to me right now in this instance, it doesn't mean that that's going to not be used later on down the line, right? That not to say that it doesn't have any purpose. Of course, even the things that make it seem like they don't have no purpose, maybe they will have purpose within your life, right? That's the way that I like to live life. Is even if I don't understand it right now, eventually it'll probably make sense, right? That's the way that I live. And with that being said, with your potential transcending yourself, you must recognize that, like I said, not only can you fulfill your own potential, but you can assist with the uprising of another person's potential. You can elevate somebody's potential, and this is part of your potential, right? So, I've met plenty of people, right? The people that have been the most impacted by this podcast are the people that I've also affected their potential, right? And this is something that I will continue to do until the end of my days because I understand how impactful that was and impactful that continues to be throughout my own personal life, right? There was people's potential that I recognized that inspired potential within me and within me looking at my own potential and saying, you know what? I could do it just like them. Maybe I can even do better than them, right? But you don't want to downplay the significance that your potential has within other people because I feel like for the most part, the reason why people don't ever get to the point where they fulfill their potential is because their why isn't big enough, right? Their reason for fulfilling that potential, you know, within themselves isn't a great enough reason for them to go ahead and pursue it, right? So they never do, right? Most people unfortunately never fulfill their potential, but nonetheless, everyone should be trying their damn best, their literal best to try to go ahead and fulfill that. But like I said, you see how people work, right? They obviously, most people are not willing to put in the work. Most people are not willing to, yeah, they're not willing to put in the work. I'll just say it like that. But one thing that I think that I recognize that those people get wrong is, like I said, their why isn't strong enough. And with their why not being strong enough, that only means one thing. They don't believe that their potential can affect other people's potential. They don't believe that. They don't see their potential as something that transcends their own self, their own circumstance. And like I said, that should be plenty of reason for you to go ahead and act, right? Because there's a lot of personal, selfish benefits that you can possibly have from working on yourself. That's for sure, right? That should be good enough reason. But for the most part, and I'm speaking for most people, it's truly not a good enough reason for them to go ahead and fulfill their potential, right? So this is where you broaden your why, right? You add more details to this why because it is going to be needed, right? If, like I said, if the if the self benefits weren't enough, you must understand, like I had mentioned before, your potential must transcend yourself. And when it does, or as it does, right? The things that you learn, the things that you internalize, right, are can be passed down to other people, right? And this is why I said at the beginning of this podcast, it doesn't matter how old you are, you have potential, right? Even at an older age, this is where a lot of people get it wrong, right? If you talk to older people, most people don't believe. I've only talked to one person. This is my grandmother, who they're older people, who's an older person, who's convinced they still have potential. You talk to any other person, most old people, most old people are not positive. That's just what it is, at least through my perception. Most old people are not positive. Most people are not optimistic about the future. Most people are very, very pessimistic. Obviously, maybe they know something I don't. Maybe they do, right? But at the same time, I would like to try a different approach when it comes to me getting an older age, right? By saying my potential is still something that can transcend myself and my own circumstance. And with that being said, with the wisdom that can rub off on others, it can literally change the entire trajectory of society, right? Potentially, of course, right? Through the influence of one person or multiple people. But nonetheless, even at an older age, your potential still means something. Because like I mentioned, maybe you learned something when you were 20, maybe you learned something when you were 30 that you can go ahead and give to somebody right now that can literally change their entire trajectory of their entire life. Like I said, thus leading towards the entire trajectory of society changing, right? And that's all based off of you in your potential, right? And like I had mentioned, recognize this very, very thoroughly and act as such that your potential must transcend yourself. It is and should transcend yourself. Like I said, there's plenty of impact that I've made on people's lives, and there's plenty of impact that I will make in people's lives. But nonetheless, it's because I've recognized that my potential is going to transcend outside of myself. Can I make myself better? Yes. But there's no point in making myself better if I'm not making others better around me. And that's just what it is. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. So, with that being said, and I want you to ask this question because when I was coming up with this idea for the podcast, this is a question that I asked myself, and this is something that I think, of course, somewhat correlates to your potential and you pursuing your potential. And this is a question that I feel like is going to be a question you've heard before, 100% probably a question that you've heard before, but it's still not a question that is asked enough, right? It's not asked enough, right? The question is, how can I do my best? And I want you to be honest with yourself, right? Because you watching this right now, you might not be doing the absolute best that you know you could be doing, right? So the question you have for yourself, the question you need to ask yourself and should be constantly asking yourself throughout this journey of life is, how can I do my best? Am I doing my best? If I'm not doing my best, that's fine for now, but how can I do my best? Because at the end of the day, as long as you're doing your best and putting in the work that you know you need to do and fulfilling your day and being satisfied with your day, right? There's not many things to be satisfied with in this life, right? There's not that many things to be content with within this life. But if you're content and satisfied with your day's work, that's all you can ask for, right? And with that being said, I'm gonna bring it back to this question: how can I do my best? Like I said, this question should be asked very, very often. And by you asking this question and constantly taking the subtle actions I would suggest for your better self, that is indeed doing your best. is by seeking to do your best, is doing your best at the end of the day. And there's that, and there's it's definitely kind of broad, right? If you hear what I just said, it definitely can be perceived as definitely very, very broad, but at the same time, do you think that's a question worth asking yourself? Do you think that's a question worth asking in this journey of life constantly? How can I do my best? How in this specific aspect of life, maybe I'm not working as optimal as I possibly can, right? What are my problems? Evaluate what your problems are, and evaluate the opportunities for growth, because there are always opportunities for growth, right? And like I said, ask yourself that very, very often, and not only will you begin to see your potential rise, but you will also see the potential of others start to rise as well. It's impossible as a human to know every single thing, which means no matter how old you are, there are still things to learn and ways to grow. You're exactly right, Jaden. Appreciate for commenting that for sure. And yeah, she's exactly correct. You're a human being. You're not perfect, and you'll never be perfect. And with that being said, there's always more knowledge, more wisdom to be. I don't even know how to be seeked out. I don't even know if that's. I don't think that's correct English, um, but yeah, there's always going to be opportunities, and like I said, you must treat this life as if you can change somebody's life, because you can change somebody's life, right? And like I said, people don't live like that. Most people don't live like they can change people's lives. They just don't. But you must have that belief that you can, because truly you can, and truly you are. That's the craziest part about it, is no matter what position you're in, you are to an extent. That's just what it is. And like I had mentioned, right, your trajectory and your potential is going to also dictate the potential of the ones around you. This is why it's so important to have a group of solid people around you, solid friends, hopefully friends that you have, right? Instead of having, less than ideal acquaintances that are not going to be, elevating you. And that's, like I said, that's why you must recognize whether those people, because obviously, as your potential, as your potential transcends yourself, others people's potential are going to transcend themselves, which therefore is rubbing off on you. So ask yourself the question: do these people have goals? Right? Are they aligned with mine? Do we have the same morals, values, and principles? Right? Evaluate all of these things, and like I said, that's how you're going to be able to be in a better position when it comes to transcending, or when it comes to your potential. I'll just say that in general. If life isn't giving you lessons to learn, then you aren't living enough, right? And yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. There's always going to be things to be learned, right? You need to always have this growth mindset. You need to always be in a position of openness. Like I said, regardless of age, and like I said, I at least this is my own personal perception. I feel like a lot more older people are definitely a lot more closed off, right? Like I said, maybe they know something I don't, but at the same time, maybe I know something that they don't, right? Um, do I really want to talk about this? Yeah, let's get into this. Let's get into this right here. All right, let's get into this right here, right? So along with understanding that your potential must transcend yourself, and I want to add this other aspect to your focus of your potential, right? I want you to just observe this thought. This is the thought that I've had, maybe a thought that you've heard before, but nonetheless, a thought that needs to be repeated in itself, right? This is going to be: you have the responsibility to everyone around you and to everyone who has came before you to achieve your potential, right? That is the responsibility that you have, right? If you're living and you're not fulfilling your potential, you're saying to yourself unconsciously, it is okay for the ones around me to live life exactly the way that they're living it. And if you're not completely content with that, then you have room to grow. Then you have room to focus in on. I'll just say that, right? But I think that's very, very important for people to really, really analyze when it comes to their own potential. Is you need you need to feel that pressure. You need to feel this responsibility, because it indeed is responsibility. And obviously, you watching this right now, you're on the right track. It's your responsibility to elevate everyone else around you by elevating yourself first. That is your responsibility. There's no other way around it, right? And if you do indeed do not fulfill your potential, not only are you unconsciously letting everyone else around you down, but you're also letting down all the ones who came before you, all the ones who had the struggles and sacrifices and problems and environmental circumstances, right? You're letting those people down. Now, does that make you feel very good? It shouldn't. It realistically shouldn't. And this is something, and like I said, most people don't think this deep. Most people's perspective of their own potential does not go this deep, right? But yours should. Yours definitely should. And like I mentioned, the people who came before you and the people who are around you right now, they've had sacrifices that they need. They've had things that they needed to sacrifices, problems that they needed to solve, struggles that they went through. And it would be a complete waste if you didn't fulfill your potential. It would almost all be for nothing if you didn't fulfill your potential and repay those people back. And like I said, maybe most people watching this, maybe they don't take it as deep as I do, right? Maybe I'm just speaking from my own personal paradigm. But at the same time, if you're dedicated at all to bettering your life and you want a better life for yourself, right? And you're seeking self-improvement, this should be one of the ideals that you eventually strive for. No matter how much pressure it puts on yourself right now, no matter how much sacrifice that you need to make right now, no matter how much responsibility that you would need to adopt right now, it doesn't matter. It's still in my opinion a worthy endeavor to go ahead and pursue and to take with that much seriousness, because that's the way that I see. That's the way that I personally see it. And like I said, maybe you have a different paradigm. I'd be more than happy to discuss that paradigm in the comments. But nonetheless, your potential is going to transcend outside of yourself, and you must act as if everything is on the line if you do not achieve your potential. Right? That is the way that I live life, and I'm going to be able to get more out of life than most people based off of that one paradigm alone, because most people are not willing to first even conceptualize what their potential looks like, let alone actually try to go ahead and achieve it, right? So yes, if you're a person struggling with you viewing yourself as a person who has potential, you're not perfect. You're not perfect in any capacity, right? You know you want to be better in certain capacities, right? You know that there's perks of life that other people are experiencing that you are jealous of, that you want for yourself. And the only way to get that is to obviously put the work in yourself, right? But as you're putting the work in, you must analyze that you're not only putting the work in for yourself. You're putting the work in for everyone else around you and everyone else who's came before you. So now, are you doing it for yourself? Yes, but no. But yes, but no at the same time. And like I said, the only reward that seems fitting for those struggles, sacrifices, and problems that the ones that came before you had went through, right, is you fulfilling your potential. There's no other way to pay people back than you being the person that you know you need to be. That's ultimately what I have to say for today's episode, right? So maybe you guys have a different paradigm. Maybe you guys have a question with today's episode and today's topic. If you're watching this live, make sure you go and leave a comment. If you are watching this after, also make sure you go and leave a comment if there's something that I said that had resonated with you. But nonetheless, I want to get into this again, right? Your potential must transcend yourself, right? Where most people get it wrong is either one, they don't believe that they have potential, or two, they think that their potential is only benefiting them and that only affects them and their life, right? Today's episode, like I had mentioned, your potential must transcend yourself, transcend yourself in your current circumstance, right? And with that being said, first you must recognize that you indeed have potential. There's areas for improvement within your life, and that those are going to be the areas of improvement, and regardless of how uncomfortable they make you feel, those are going to be the opportunity that are worth pursuing for sure. And with that being said, by you going on this wild journey of trying to pursue your potential and achieving your potential, right? You begin to lift the vibration of everyone else around you and everyone else who's came before you, right? And that is the ultimate reward in itself, because self-improvement is one of these things, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And I'm sure you've heard somebody say that before, but it is truly indeed the gift that keeps on giving, because not only can you do one of the most selfish acts of all time, which is bettering yourself, because it is selfish. Don't get me wrong, it is selfish to better yourself. But if you do it, if you do a selfish act, and Jaden said it, Jaden said she already knew where my mind was going. But if you choose a selfish act, but your intent is indeed selfless, then that's the best of both worlds, because not only are you improving and you're getting better and you're taking advantage of your current circumstance to make you better, but you do it with a selfless intent. Like I said, what more can you truly ask for? Because like I said, by you choosing today to say, you know what, I'm going to clearly define what my potential looks like, and I'm going to strive for that every single day. Automatically, you're making everyone that's around you better. You're making their life more enjoyable to live. You're making them more happy. You're uplifting their potential in real time, right? You have to be selfish and selfless at the same time. Selfish enough to start for yourself, but selfless enough to keep going for everyone else. Jaden, that was perfectly written. And you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Your main intent, should be a selfless intent, right? But your motive, one of your first motives should be trying to better yourself, because you know you could be better, right? And I'm gonna reiterate these same points that I made earlier, because I do believe they're of the utmost importance, right? With with obviously transcending your potential, and obviously you building your own potential. One thing I want to mention, this is something that I've seen time and time again. Maybe I'm speaking out of my own paradigm. Maybe you recognize this as well, right? There's a lot of people who are older, right, who do not believe that they have any potential. That they don't believe that they have as much utility as they once did, right? And I would argue they might even have potentially more utility than they've ever had, right? Accessible to them. And with that being said, today's topic was your potential must transcend yourself. So if you're an older person, understand thoroughly that your potential should transcend yourself. Your wisdom can and should rub off on others in a way that could potentially shift their entire trajectory of their entire life, right? And like I said, potentially affect society, right? And that is of course that is very very mm, that is very how do I don't want to put it? It's very some people can view that as crazy to think that way, right? Maybe it's a little bit outrageous, or maybe it's a little bit um overdone. But nonetheless, these are things that are all true. These are things that are all true, that you, in the position that you're in the position that you put yourself in, by you pursuing your potential, your wisdom can truly rub off on others and truly impact that person's life. And not only that, and who knows, you might be giving advice to the next um, Elon Musk. Let's say that, to the next Elon Musk, or to the next person who's going to shift society and shift the masses' minds, right? You never know. You never know how big your impact can be. You never know. So you must act as if you'll never know. You must act as if you could be potentially changing the entire trajectory of the human civilization. You must act as such, right? And I feel like acting any other way is not understanding the true extent of your potential. We'll say that. I'll say that. So, like I had mentioned, I'm going to ask you guys these questions. These are questions that are associated with your potential, and these are questions that must be constantly evaluated and asked over time. How can I do my best? Am I doing my best right now? How can I do better? Okay, there's an area for opportunity. There's an area where I'm true. This is a true weakness of mine, right? How am I going to make this better, right? How can I do my best? Most people never ask that question. They never ask, how can I do better? How can I do my best? They never ask these questions. It honestly blows my mind. Blows my mind, man. So, like I said, ask yourself that question. How can I do my best? If I could seek to be content with one day of work, right? What would this specifically look like? How could I improve? How can I do my best today? How can I do my best this week? What are certain things I can do that's going to change my life for the better? Maybe it's working out. Maybe you're not working out enough. So by you trying to get the most satisfaction out of your day, for you to be the most content with your day's work, maybe it would look like you doing your best would look like you working out, or you putting in work on your side business, or you maybe putting in more work at work, right? Whatever it is, how can you do your best? That is a question you must ask. And with that being said, I'm going to reiterate this point because, like I said, I see so much significance within this, right? Understand that there are so many sacrifices and problems and struggles that the ones before you and the ones that are around you have had to go through in order for you to be in the position that you're in right now. So you could take that for what it is, right? In order for that to be not a complete waste of time, right? Of struggle, of sacrifice, of actual, um, problem solving, right? For those to not be the biggest waste of time, you need to be everything that you know you can be, right? You must be able to fulfill your potential in a way that would reward the people who came before you for their sacrifice, their problem solving, and for their struggles, right? Like I said, there's no other way, in my opinion, that is a more fitting way to go ahead and show your appreciation for people than to be a walking example of what to be, of what you could have been, or what you are rather. So, like I said, maybe you have a different perspective on that. That is the way that I personally perceive that, and that is the way that I will live my life. And I do believe that if you right now watching this were to take that same advice and apply that to your life, I do believe that you would see some type of benefit. Maybe there is a better solution out there. Maybe not, right? But you must ask that question to yourself, right? Is there a better solution? If not, you might need to consider it. You might need to consider it at least. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say for today's episode. Think bigger than yourself. Always create a bigger why than the why that you have for yourself, right? Sometimes you and yourself are not good enough reasons to pursue the life that you want to live. That's just what it is, right? Most people, they don't act as if there's a lot more at stake, right? They think that they can just get away with not fulfilling their potential because it only is affecting them, right? They think, well, me not going to the gym, me not doing these certain things, me not pursuing my business, things like this, right? It's not really going to affect me because I'm only really thinking about myself, and you know what, people can, they can live whatever life that they want. I really only care about myself, right? Here's the thing, you can get into that selfish paradigm very, very easily, right? But it's not the paradigm that I recommend. It's not the most fulfilling paradigm. It's actually, in my opinion, shifting your responsibility as a person. And with that being said, the alternative is to take full accountability, full responsibility for your life, and full accountability for you not being where you need to be at, for you not pursuing your potential, right? That's ultimately what I have to say for today's episode, right? Your potential must transcend yourself. Constantly always think that it can transcend yourself. Maybe you're learning something right now that has no utility. It doesn't mean that it will always not have utility within your life. You might be able to express it to a different person, and understand, no matter how big or small your impact is, it is still an impact, and it can affect people's lives, right? And you must act as so, right? But let's see if I have anything else that I want to say for today's episode. If you guys have any comments or questions, I'll go ahead and answer some of the comments, and then I'm gonna go ahead and end it off. But I appreciate everyone stopping by. Yeah, I appreciate everyone stopping by. And this upcoming year is gonna be, man, wow, man, it's gonna be one hell of a year. So you stay tuned in for that, right? Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. That's pretty much what I have to say for that. Is there anything else? Is there anything else I want to say for today's episode? Hmm. Hmm. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that I want to say for today's episode? Just fulfill your potential, man. Fulfill your potential. Fulfill your potential. You can fulfill your potential, and you will fulfill your potential. Do your best. You never know. You never know what kind of impact that you're going to be able to make. You never know how pivotal the positions that you're in right now can transcend society. You never know who you could be speaking to, right? You never know who you could be influencing. You never know who you could be impacting. And you must act as such, right? Like I said, who knows? Maybe the next Elon Musk will be her. Maybe the next Elon Musk's favorite YouTuber is me. You never know. You never know with this life. So therefore, you must act as if you don't know, right? But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say for today's episode. Stay tuned for the next episode on next Thursday. I know we're getting into the holidays. It'll be, I think, December 21st, if I'm not mistaken. The day before my birthday. I might just have it on my birthday. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? But y'all good, man. Y'all good, Gio, man. Y'all good. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, the next podcast will be on the 21st. I'm not gonna do it on my birthday. I hear that's what I'll do. I'm not gonna do it on my birthday. Next podcast is gonna be on the 21st. Let's tap in with that for sure. Yeah, if there's any specific topics that you think that that you would find interesting if I spoke about, definitely leave in the comments. Or maybe there's a problem that you're going through right now that you think I need to go ahead and discuss. Make sure and leave that in the comments, and maybe I'll make a podcast topic about it. Well, other than that, this was episode 171 of the Life of a Champ podcast, discussing how your potential must transcend yourself, right? Make sure you go and follow me on Rumble, TikTok, and Twitch, all at Life of a Champ podcast on all those. Obviously, it's going to be in the bottom left of your screen. So tap in with that for sure. Also, all links are going to be in my bio as well. Or my description as well. Other than that, now I said everything I need to say. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all work at these motherfuckers, because you know that I am, and you know that we are. And we will continue to do so this upcoming year. Like I said, fellas, next year, told you so 2024, we're going to act as if all the things that we do and all the things that we accomplish within this next year, we told you was going to happen. Don't be surprised, man. That's all I got to say. Y'all have a good night. Stay tuned in for the next podcast, the day before my birthday. And yeah, understand your potential is going to transcend yourself. And like I said, act as such, man. Y'all have a good night. Next podcast is going to be on Thursday.